State lawmaker Solomon Bob aims to strip the vice president, state governors, and their deputies of this immunity, limiting it only to the president. And this amendment also introduces a new subsection 4, which states that immunity will not apply if a public official is acting in an unofficial capacity, exceeds the powers of his office, or involved in criminal activities. This move is designed to promote transparency, curb corruption, and ensure greater accountability among public office holders. If successfully enacted, this amendment marks a significant shift in Nigeria's governance structure, making high-ranking officials more accountable during their tenure. Joining me today virtually is Barrister Anthony Osula, a renowned legal practitioner, analyst, and human rights activist. Barrister Osula will share his views on the proposed amendment to the 1999 Constitution, specifically Section 308, which grants immunity to high-ranking public officials. Good evening, Barrister Osula.
Good evening, madam. It's nice to be with you.
Many thanks for joining us on the show. It's such a pleasure to have you join us tonight.
Very much. It's a pleasure to be with you this beautiful evening.
All right, let's just dive straight into the discussion. Let's take it from top. Can you help us understand the implications of the proposed amendment and its potential impact on Nigeria's governance structure?
Yes, the proposed amendment is very significant to the progress of our great nation. And I want to thank the member of the National Assembly who has taken the bold step to introduce this bill by way of amendment of Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I must state categorically that this amendment is coming at proper time. The yearnings of Nigerians have always been that the state executive, when I talk about state, I'm talking about the governor and the deputy governor, should be stripped of their constitutional rights from having immunity from both civil and criminal infractions. And I think the grounds of this proposed amendment has been, re-emphasized and canvassed to the effect that over time in history, we have seen executors of the states acted with so much impunity and recklessness when it comes to handling the finances of the states. And they normally hide under the shadow of immunity in perpetuating this grievous crime, which I would refer, without minding any words, as, offenses, against the of Nigeria. Because when they commit these offenses, you cannot go to court. They cannot be sued, neither executed before a court of law. What that simply means is that a governor, for instance, who conspired or orchestrated of another citizen of Nigeria during the lawful tenure of his office, despite if the investigated and there are strong evidence against him, cannot be prosecuted before a court of law until his tenure of office has expired. That sets a really dangerous precedent, because if you are to wait before somebody would leave his high horse of becoming the executive or deputy governor of a state, the potential that the weaknesses the security agents will want to use to prosecute him might either have left the jurisdiction, by act of God, might have died, or such as might have been destroyed. And what is the way? The way forward is that if they are stripped of this constitutional right of immunity, it brings about accountability to the people right from the grassroots.
Okay.
It gives the impression to any holder of that office that while you are in that office, you're not really accountable to the people, and any act or infractions you do while in office, you can be held accountable for it.
Oh, all right. There is a development where reports have it that states in Nigeria are actually opposing this bill to remove immunity from the vice president, governors, and their deputies, and saying that the bill, which has already passed second of representative, aims to amend Section 308 of the 1999 Constitution to allow these officials to face prosecution while in office. Most of them have come out and they're standing against this, but opponents of the bill, including its sponsor, Solomon Bob, argued that removing immunity will enhance accountability and strengthen the fight against corruption, which you have also established this evening. However, these state officials are saying that it could lead to politically motivated lawsuits, distraction, and administrative instability. They've raised a lot of concerns which are quite valid. But let's talk about governance distractions. On the part of Abiodun Akeomo, he cautioned that the removal of this immunity could hinder governance and development, and he said that executives could be attacked by legal battles. Their strengths could be brought down by legal battles instead of focusing on governance. What's your response to this? Is that a valid case?
Yes, I have read some of the arguments of the proper persons who do not want the governor and deputy governor, as well as the vice president, to be stripped of their constitutional immunity. I must say I respect those opinions, but I beg to differ from them. Most lawyers, we need to do a proper unification of members of the public so that they can understand, what is the end result of this proposed bill. Mind you, there are two types of immunity. There is immunity against official acts, and there is also immunity on official acts. When I talk about immunity in respect of official acts, it means that while in the course of your duty and you make a decision in official capacity, as it stands today in the Nigerian Constitution, by virtue of Section 308, 1, 2, sub 1, 2, and 3, the governor is from lawsuits in respect of actions, done within his official acts. The immunity granted by the Nigerian Constitution as it stands is in respect of immunity in respect of unofficial acts. That is to say, if the governor of a state commits any civil or criminal infraction that is not within the purview of his constitutional mandates,
right,
then he is preluded from both criminal prosecution or civil liability. So, if any person is serious, any holder of the office, the proposed bill do not seek to remove immunity in respect of official acts. I will not support removing immunity for official acts. But what we are looking at here is immunity in respect of unofficial acts. I don't see any office or occupier will be worried about this proposed bill, because it is rationally and reasonably stated that a person who is occupying elected public office is somebody of good character, is someone of good conscience, is somebody who believes in fair play, is somebody who is not going there with the intention to commit criminal and grievous crime, both violent or corporate or white-collar crime, as the case may be, against the people of the state. He is somebody who is not going there to, illegally trample upon the civil rights of the citizens of that state. Begin to do land grabbing and use properties for his personal benefits or his personal gains. So why would you be worried about it? Because the said proposer does not seek to remove your immunity in respect of official acts. So remove your immunity in respect of unofficial acts.
Do you think that these governors are worried because most of the time they abuse the as elected officials?
Yes. That is basically the reason of their protests. because all this, because they have not really given or provided any cogent reason to that. All they have said is that it will give room or floodgate for political witch hunting. I mean, that is a far cry from the realities that we face on ground. Even governors today on different lawsuits in respect of their official acts. So they have never really been immune, from lawsuits. But what we are saying, a situation where you have a governor without any form of law, empowering him to do so, he would transfer public funds money into his private accounts. Or he would willfully, in order to get his opponent out of the way, conspire with certain individual, for instance, to commit murder, political assassination. We have had situations wherein some, political rivalries, and after police investigation, the extent of the governor of the state will be fingered in such political assassination. And because he has immunity, he cannot be prosecuted. So where is the justice there? Because the whole essence of our Nigerian constitution should be drafted in such a way that it would at all times ensures equity, justice, and fair play in the system. It should not be done in such a way that it should untwist the hands of the Nigerian people and make some issues appear above the law just because they are occupying public office.
Another instance that was established is the fact that there would be, or there are possibilities of, politically motivated lawsuits. That's according to the Ogun State Attorney General Oluwashina Ogungbade SAN. It suggested that lifting immunity would trigger a wave of politically driven corruption allegations aimed at removing officials from office. He is saying now that people can afford to cook up stories just so that they ensure that their oppositions, people they don't like, are taken out of office. This is another point that raised. I don't know if you also agree with him, or you don't believe that the immunity should not be taken out.
With respect to the learned attorney, I do not agree with him. If we are to go by his arguments, it will be to fall into the trap that our security agencies was the responsibility of crime detection up to their responsibilities or their mandates. If we are to fall, agree with such legal submissions, that is to say that what we are agreeing to is that we have police officers who are corrupt, who can be maneuvered by political rivalry to lay false accusations against the governor of a state or nothing.
Isn't that a possibility?
This also calls to. Well, for me, to agree with that, because these governors are also a factor to play when it comes to even the police investigation. What we should be looking at is how to strengthen, our enforcement agencies, who principally will be charged with their responsibility in the event that the governor commits criminal infraction, of doing a proper investigation and not go for political witch hunting or political
So you would
rivalry.
say that there is a bit of consideration in what he has said, because if you would agree that there is a system that needs to be worked upon for these things to be done, so with what we have right now, don't you think that his points are valid? I mean, anybody can be instigated against the next person. It feels like when it comes to politics and politicking in this country, it's about the highest bidders, and you can't even trust, unfortunately, you can't even trust some of our institutions who are supposed to be independent. But there's been a lot of cases of being sentimental. There's been a lot of cases where people get biased and can't rule out the concerns or the worries of people in government, especially knowing that in politics, most of the time, you make a lot of enemies when you are in office.
I will not, like I said before, I will not agree with that, because to agree with that point is to indirectly say that the Nigerian police or the Economic and Financial Crime Commission and other security agencies, that are given these mandates to investigate criminal wrongs, have that capacity or maturity to investigate a crime, to do a discreet and thorough investigation and be impartial in doing so. So what he's saying is that we don't have any serious police institution in this country. I beg to differ. I believe that our men and women who are serving in the Nigerian police force, to a very large extent, even when they see the truth, they know this is the truth. And even if a political rivalry, like he wants to insinuate, bring up a Trump-up charge, it is left for the Nigerian police with their maturity and their training to be able to return back a no prima facie case governor or deputy governor. So, but let us not be distracted from the gains that will be made if this bill is passed. Also to say that if he is going by that argument and you agree with it, what that means is that we open a floodgate for our Nigerian police to become corrupt, their official and unofficial acts. And where do we go from there as a people? How are we going to be guaranteed that we're going to have good schools? How are we going to be guaranteed we're going to have good roads? How are we going to be guaranteed that the poor man on the streets will be able to live, a meaningful life deserving of a Nigerian? How are we going to be assured that our children and those yet unborn will be able to fulfill their dreams and desires while territorial waters of what is now called today Nigeria? Because history has taught us, and we must learn from history, that most of these governors have acted with impunity and recklessness. They have a office. Sometimes there is no meaningful investigation that can be done against their acts simply because they have immunity. So if any person who is serious in occupying that position knows fully well what is the challenges ahead, and he doesn't have immunity, then it will create a system of checks and balances.
All right. And
with that will also help to guarantee that only rational, responsible persons occupy these high exalted positions.
Okay, as much as we want to focus on the quality of the people that occupy such positions, it's rather unfortunate that don't get to participate in the primary elections that happen in political parties. I mean, of course, they are Nigerian citizens, but I'm talking about the larger population. Most of the time, Nigerians are left with the options that the party put. And in most cases, some Nigerians have argued that these people are not even the best of us. As a matter of fact, they are not even, if you put two together to say good, better, these people are that word. But still talking about this immunity, let's look at inconsistent application. Because according to Ogunbade, he questioned why the bill spares the president while targeting governors and their deputies, arguing that if immunity will be removed, it should apply across board to all elected officials, whether president, vice president, governors, and deputy governors. Your take?
Yes, I agree with that opinion. I feel the proposed bill, for best known to the honorable member, Mr. Solomon Bob, he didn't want to remove the immunity of the president for reason best known to him. But on that particular aspect, I do not agree with him. I believe that it should be equitable and it should be fair. If the immunity is sought to be removed for other elected government officials like the vice president, the governor, and the deputy governor, then the same thing should apply to the president. In fact, we should borrow leaf from the United States of America. In the US, for instance, state president is not immune from unofficial acts. But of course, when it comes to official acts too, he can also, be brought to book and be. So that also has a way of ensuring that even while you are occupying that position, you can also be subject to criminal investigation. And we've seen recent examples when President Donald Trump, during his first tenure in office, while he was there was a Federal Bureau of FBI him for alleged criminal wrongs. And that does not really mean or distracted him in the performance of his duty. So if I were to borrow leave from the United States of America, for instance, where they are not immune from official,
if you say
and that is where we also...
If you say that he was not distracted in carrying out his responsibilities, I mean, you can't be too sure. The arguments around distractions are quite valid according to reports, because imagine having the president attend to national issues and having like 7 to 10 court cases in a week. What are the possibilities of having the best personality, the best person of the president in terms of personally, psychologically, and everything? Every part of the president is very, very important when it comes to governance. So you can't be too sure when you say that having a court case the president at the time. Speaking about the United States.
I think we should get a picture here, or we should try to have an understanding of the benefits we will get if we remove immunity. Number one, an institution that would be independent, just like the Nigerian police, for instance. Why many people are jittery as a removal of the immunity is because they have in their mindset that they have a very weak police system, a system parading police officers that are untrained in the art of policing, or police officers that are polarized along political lines. And they are to be blamed for it. They created that institution because they benefit from it. If you have a weak policing system or a weak enforcement system, that means you can get away with anything in Nigeria. But if you know, as an elected official, for instance, that there is a strong possibility that I am related for certain action, need not to allow a political rivalry make use of a weak institution against you, even when there is not been done. Then it now become imperative during your time as a governor or as a president to ensure that you have the best brains, to ensure that our police officers are well trained, to ensure that they are well paid their salary, to ensure they are properly motivated. You have a strong institution like that, that is fair, that is not polarized along political lines, an institution that is ready to serve the Nigerian people, you know, the constitution, then you shouldn't be scared.
So that means we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do in terms of our system, building structures, building institutions. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, I see from what you've said that the gains outweigh the disadvantage. But of course, we know how things play out here in the country. But it's worth noting that the House of Representatives is open to allowing for further debate and scrutiny on this issue. But another question I want to ask is, looking at it, putting it side by side, the fact that there might be cases, undue cases, there might be a lot of distraction and all that. Do you think that immunity should be a conversation that we should not have anymore, or reformed to promote accountability among public officials? Do you think that we should reform it? Should we include the president, or what can we do differently just so that everybody that is being voted into office feel comfortable while in service?
This is a conversation that we should continue to, engage in this country. Because, to be frank, I think institutions will work better under the stewardship of these, elected public officials. You understand? Because the reason why they are not even mindful as to enhancing public institutions, because they feel that it is not going to affect them as a person. But if they know that if you have an institution, like for instance, maybe the judiciary that has been compromised, but because you feel that you are not going to be... Did
you just say that has been compromised?
I'm just saying that in the event that they have that feeling for those who are opposing this bill of immunity, those who have that feeling of saying, you might not have an institution trust, there'll be political rivalry or whatsoever. Then if you have that feeling, then you can go back to the drawing board and say, come, if we are to prevent our political opponents from raising issues that are not even true, or from levying allegations that cannot be substantiated, what can we do to prevent it if we don't have immunity? And what do? You improve the judiciary, you make the judiciary truly independent, then you also make the policing system also truly independent. Perhaps you can also look at the Constitution and say that the Inspector General of Police, for instance, should not be, politically, it should not be a political appointment or office, so to speak. And in that instance, is threatened. Trust me, nobody can use that same institution against you, except there is a prima facie case and there is merit and truthfulness in any criminal allegations. So there's a bigger picture. So I wouldn't want to accept that argument. I also, want to draw back inwards and say it might be a distraction having a governor going through several allegations of criminal wrongs or whatsoever. But that will also change the kind of policing system we should have in our country. In advanced jurisdiction, when a criminal offense is reported, what they do first is to investigate, gather evidence if this is true or not, before they even go ahead to arrest. So if you are a governor, for instance, and you haven't committed any criminal infraction, and somebody raises a false allegation against you, what happens? The police has the
investigate the matter.
And once police investigate and see that there is no prima facie case or truthfulness in the case, that person who made that false allegation can even be arrested for false information and prosecuted.
Exactly.
So that there will not even be no distraction. Even if you are working in your office as a governor and you are being investigated, it doesn't affect your work.
Okay.
There's truthfulness in that story.
At the end of the day, it's accountability for us. We want a system whereby government officials are accountable and the system is transparent enough just so we can trust the people that we elect into these offices. But to wrap up this particular conversation, what constitutional do you think are necessary to address the issues surrounding this topic of immunity and accountability in Nigeria? And on your part, do you think, as much as you've established, do you think it is a necessary evil or it's a shield for corruption and it should be taken out of the equation?
Nigeria is a shield for corruption. Those who emphasize immunity thoughts, they had good thought to the extent that they do not want these elected officials to be distracted, informed while in the discharge and duty to the electorate and bringing it of the people, to fruition. But sadly, despite how beautiful the wordings of that particular provision, Section 308, has been written in our Constitution, it has not been used against the aspirations and wishes of the Nigerian people who want better government, who want to like their homes, who want good roads, who want to visit good hospitals if they are sick, and who want to prevent insecurity in their country, who don't want a situation where you'll be scared of traveling or even investing in your own country or going to your farm to, go and work because you'll be scared of Fulani herdsmen because those who are in power are not responsible. At the end of the day, these elected government officials are our servants. They are not above us. They were put there to serve the people and the interests of Nigerians.
Exactly.
So if you go there and you begin to divert public funds or do something contrary to your oath of office, then it should not be out of place if you are investigated and prosecuted.
Even while in
or
office.
even removed from office. Yes, because because we put you there. You are our servants. You're supposed to serve us, not we serving you. It's not supposed to be the other way around.
Okay, thank you very much for that response. Let's go on a quick break now. We'll return shortly and we will be going to Kano State to take some reactions on the events, speaking to the celebration, the Salah Duba, which is supposed to hold next week.
Make power and opinions scream the loudest. It's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The issues. Don't just react. Understand.
Aminu Ado, Emir of Kano State, Kano, has cancelled the annual Salah Doba celebration due to security concerns. According to him, this decision comes after consultations with Islamic clerics and elders who advised against holding the event to maintain peace in the state. Ado Bayero had initially planned to hold the Doba, but tensions rose when, according to reports, the governor, Abba Kabir Yusuf, directed Mahmodu Sanusi to Emir of Kano to prepare for the same celebration, potentially into parallel and unrest. The Emir emphasized that the peaceful coexistence of the people is more important than the Doba celebration, urging residents to focus on unity and harmony during the festival. This development highlights the ongoing complexities in the Kano Emirate following Bayero's dethronement and Sanusi's reinstatement, without ignoring the ongoing court cases. I'll still be talking to Barrister on these issues because, I mean, the position of government in our traditional institution, by emphasized, neither can it be ignored. Are you still with us, Barrister?
Yes, I'm still with you.
All right, so following that introduction, I mean, before Ado Bayero came to announce that he was cancelling his own celebration, there was a lot of people were anticipating or predicting crisis in Kano State, saying that how will these two emirs, whether dethroned or reinstated, celebrating the same festival in the same city. But he has come to say that, okay, after consulting with a lot of clerics, a lot of elders in the land, I hereby withdraw my own stand. I a wonderful celebration, and I wouldn't be doing this year again. Let's talk about politics and traditional institutions. What role should the government be playing in traditional institutions in cases like this, with reports coming to say that, oh, the governor had told Sanusi to come out to celebrate this festival, while it news that Ado Bayero will be celebrating the same? What should the government be doing in positions like this?
I think what the government should be doing basically is taking steps to ensure that there is no loss of lives or destruction of property while they are playing their politics, you know, in respect of the rivalry currently ongoing between the Sanusi and Alhaji Bayero in respect of who is going to be the Emir of Kano, or whether the reinstatement of Alhaji Sanusi was proper, you know, by the virtue of the amendments and repeal of the, you know, chieftaincy title law, as the case may be, you know, because basically the matter are not transited to the Supreme Court, and while parties await the final determination, you know, on the issue, it would only be reasonable and rational that the, you know, ruling of the Court of Appeal that was very clear and unequivocal that parties should maintain status quo, you know, pending determination of the matter and final disposal of same at the Supreme Court. So I feel initially it was not in the place of Alhaji Bayero, with all respect to him, to have wanted to celebrate, you know, this historical celebration they usually have after the fasting event and what have you. Yeah. And I must commend him for shielding what I would refer to as the sword, having known that there's also a contending party, you know, because basically if you have two persons representing to members of our followers as the Emir of Kano, you cannot begin to imagine, the clash that you might have a religious fight or a clash that had to do with customarily that might even engulf the states or might even overwhelm the security apparatus and architecture of Kano State. What they did was even in line with the Court of Appeal as it stands, that the party should maintain status quo, pending the final determination. Because right now, even if Alhaji Sanusi is currently occupying the throne, it's still being contested. And while we await the Supreme Court decision, both parties should maintain status quo. Because at the end of the day, they need their followers.
Exactly.
I mean, you cannot be a king. You cannot be a king if you don't have. You cannot be a king and your followers are limping, or some are in the hospitals, or reports of some dead by reasons of your own, personal and selfish decision, because you want to celebrate, you want to show to the world that no, I'm there right now, or I can outdo the other person. So I think that is in the proper context, and the government should also take heed and not to allow this political rivalry between the two emirs cascade to the extent you now have a club between two contending parties and followers, because I know with the constitutional mandate to protect lives and property
of the citizens,
that should not be sacrificed on the altar of a political expediency. Exactly.
It's quite obvious that this is just one tool, and we have two people claiming ownership of this tool. And of course, there is no way they won't have parties. But in all of this equation, in all of this situation, you can't even take out the place of politics and political interference, because the former governor was the one that led that coup, as some would say, that led to the removal of the Sanusi as Emir in Kano State, and of course the installation of Ado Bayero. And now the new governor, it looks like there's a way politicians take advantage of these traditional institutions and the people to whatever they stand to gain might not be clear to the majority, but it's quite unfortunate. But what does this Kano Emirate crisis say about political interference in Nigeria's traditional institution and governance structure? I'm talking generally now, across board.
Well, it simply shows that the role of our traditional rulers are nothing more than ceremonial roles. Before the advent of the colonial masters, these traditional reigned supreme within their villages and communities.
Right.
They were law unto themselves, and they had the final say. They were both, as in some instance, the accuser and the judge. But in this event, now we now have modern democracy. It simply shows that even the traditional leaders, to an extent, is subsumed, into the higher government. Traditional leaders, one way or the others, because the traditional leaders have a lot of followers, hard-line followers who are ready to die for even that seat. So what politicians have now mastered to do, in recent past, is to liaise with these traditional leaders and bring them on board to their political philosophy of winning the next election by making use of these traditional leaders to reach out to members of the electorate in their own favor. So in the event that you have a traditional ruler anywhere in Nigeria that gives the feeling or undertone that they are not in support of your government, that particular, if it's an Oba, as the case may be, in the southwest, or if it's maybe a traditional holder in the far somewhere in the north, maybe an emir, then you have a situation where your powers could be, decentralized in such a manner that you will not have a firm hold or grip to your followers.
So would you say that our traditional institutions are weak, or it's just a necessity for these traditional rulers to be controlled and have a law that guides them?
Yeah, our traditional leaders are weak, because they don't have, any force of power. A traditional leader, for instance, could mediate over a situation, and a contending party who is not satisfied approach the High Court. And if the High Court look at the known to the High Court, can set aside that decision if it's not in accordance with the principle of natural justice, equity, and good conscience. So, but to our traditional fathers and leaders, because they hold a historical seat going from time immemorial. So we are also not quick, to remove or throw away our traditional institutions, because we draw inspirations and proverbs from our African traditional society. So we are not quick to do away with them. But when it comes to winning election, most of these politicians have become very selfish, and they have found a way to penetrate through the traditional institutions for their own personal gains and benefit. And that's what we saw played out in the case of Sanusi, the 14th emir of Kano, when he was making certain statements that appeared to the government of the day, headed by Alhaji Ganduje, that he was not in support of his government. He would rally his followers and make statements that appears that the government in Kano State was not working. There was poverty, there was malnutrition, and all kinds. So he disposed him. He did not only was to also make that seat to become weak by also recognizing some district heads ordinarily by history and elevating to the status of an emir, so that those district heads could also have a traditional hold to the followers.
But will you say that Sanusi into politics at some point? Do you think that there should be a separation when it comes to your position as a traditional ruler and interference with politics in the state? If he is talking about poverty and the likes, malnutrition and the likes, do you think his approach at the time was wrong? Was it the right thing to do, or you think that he actually played politics with his office?
Well, I wouldn't say he played politics with it. He was only responding to issues were very visible in Kano. Because when a traditional father and your followers are hungry, they come to your palace, you can see the starvation and poverty showing in their face. You can see how they have been economically battered by the wrong policies of the government of the day. You, as a traditional father, you sit in a role to play a traditional role, or like a traditional father, and give advice to the government of the day. This is what is being affected. This is what is affecting the people of the state. But any government who is also alive to his responsibility will take the advice in good faith and do the needful. But of a politician, he sees that this is a man who wants to rival my seat. This is a man who wants to give me a bad name. This is a man who perhaps is in bed with political rivals. So I'm definitely not going to allow it. So let me dispose it and bring somebody aboard loyal to me and my own political leanings and philosophy, who will tell the followers, even if they are that the government of the day is doing well. And I think that's what the current governor of Kano State saw. That the man who is the emir, he's more loyal to his predecessor in office and keeping him. Otherwise, he might be, a political termite.
So as it is, the fate of our traditional leaders are in the hands of the politically elected officials. That's what it is, right? Right?
Yes, it is, because they right now they play a ceremonial role.
All right.
They have no goal.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
They cannot make laws and they cannot enforce laws.
Thank you very much, Barrister Antonio Sars-Osula, for sharing your expertise and insights on this very complex issue surrounding immunity and accountability in Nigeria. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm happy to have been in your studio today. Thank you very much.
All right. The discussions we've had today have highlighted the need for careful consideration and balancing of competing interests. As we move forward, it's clear that promoting transparency, accountability, and good governance will require a collective effort from citizens, civil societies, and government. We hope that today's conversation has contributed a deeper understanding of these issues and will inspire further debate and action on the part of the people in Kano State, we wish you a very, very happy holiday. We hope that you celebrate the Salad Oba and how as you anticipate. And of course, on the part of governors in Nigeria saying no to the bill being passed for the removal of immunity. Whatever happens in Nigeria should be based on how citizens are affected and how responsible and accountable leaders are.
My name is Promise Nkwachuku Kalu. Well, I'm from Abia State, Bende local government, Item, to be precise. I'm able Item. Well, it has always been my joy to do music technology. When I talk about music technology, the aspect of repairing, sound installation, and sound programming, and also singing. As early as 8 years old, I joined the choir in the church to enable me enhance my voice and do more when it comes to the music aspect. Like I do the secular music, I do the classical music, and I also do when you come about the spiritual gospel music. So I'm working as a sound engineer in Eruka Online Limited, a company where I want to grow more into technicalities. When I talk about technicalities, I'm talking about doing repairs, doing installation in churches, in lounge, in mosques, in anywhere that requires me going to install, I will ever install. Audio installation is a thing of joy because for me it's all about working with passion. Now when you talk about audio generally, it has to do with the implementation of gadgets like the mixer, the amplifiers, and the speaker management, installing, having to climb the roof. And it's not easy because most times being scared of falling, and a situation whereby the ceiling of where you're installing is not firm, you can be endangering your life. So it's something that we are very, very careful, but we work with perfection, and everything I do by the grace of God is 100% perfect. For a layman, the first thing you need to know to become an audio engineer is music. I studied music in school, then I went into the technicalities of music. For you to become an engineer, you must know what sound is basically. So sound, which is a practical thing, you must have the ears to identify good sound. And if you are capable and able to identify good sound, that means you can as well tag yourself an upcoming audio engineer, because that's a basic point for you to start from. When it comes to my profession, I put a limit to it in terms of working duration. Like for each day, I map out time and say, this is what I want to achieve. This is what I want to get done today, and make sure it doesn't collide with going out with the family, going out to, with my wife, and also enjoying myself, because work and